Okay, good day everyone. I am S A Magaji. We'll be discussing on fundamental in human nutrition 2, NUD 224. So today our discussion will going to focus on the energy value of foods and diets. So what is energy? When we say energy is the power to do work, and we all need energy to grow. We need energy to stay alive, to keep warm, and to be active. As such, energy is essential for life and is required to fuel many different body processes, growth, and activities. That is, the entire metabolism needs sufficient amount of energy supply for it to continue properly. What is foods? When we say foods, is defined as any solid or liquid which when ingested will enable the body to carry out any of its life function. These foods, as we already said, can be solid, it can be semi-solid, and it can be liquid. Thus, food has generally two important characteristics. One, anything that worth to be eaten can be called food. So a food must be something edible, and it must something that contains at least a nutrient so it can be able to nourishes the body. Then diet. Diet is a sum of foods consumed by a person or other organism. Diet is also defined as a kind of food that a person, animal, or community usually or habitually eating. For example, vegetarian diets. Diet can also be defined as the type and amount of food selected for a person or animal for a special purpose. For example, a diabetic diet, high protein diet, low sugar diet, low salt diet, among others. And why do we need foods and nutrients as humans? Foods generally or basically play important functions in our body, or generally foods plays basically important function. One, we have psychological function of food, social function of food, then physiological function of food. Psychological function of food means we all have emotions, emotional needs, such as need for security, need for affection, need for love. So food is one way through which these needs are satisfied. For example, how do you feel when your husband or wife or mother prepares your favorite food or dish? You feel that he or she loves you. So food can be used to show love. Food is often served as a reward as well. For example, you can buy a chocolate, you buy something that someone needs and give as a gift. So you use it as a reward. That is psychological function of food. When someone is sick, normally sickness is an unpleasant experience. Hence, even the food items served during the time of illness may also make someone feels happy or feel at home or feel good to eat the food. Then social function of food. Food and eating have significant social meaning. For example, sharing food with any other person implies social acceptance. Food is also an integral part of festivity everywhere in the world. For example, Christmas, birthdays, Salah celebration, and other festivities are associated with food. Food also has a specific significance meaning in the religious context. Then the last function of food is physiological function of food. That is, what is the function of food in our body? Generally, there are three physiological functions of foods, or there are three physiological functions performed by food in our body. These are energy giving, body building, body regulation, and protection foods. So food that provides energy includes carbohydrates, fat, and protein, which we are going to discuss it extensively today. Food that helps in building of the body include the protein. Also, carbohydrates and lipids also plays a role in body building. Food that regulate and protect our body against diseases includes the vitamins, the minerals, fibers, as well as what? Water. Now, food energy. Food energy is a chemical that animals, including humans, derive from food to sustain their metabolism, including their muscular activities. Most animals derive most of their nutrients or most of their energy from aerobic respiration, namely by combining the carbohydrate in the foods, the fats, and the protein with oxygen from air or dissolved in water to generate their energy. Other smaller components of the diet, such as organic acids and ethanol, for example, the drinking alcohol, may contribute to the energy input in man. So the energy yielding food factors, as we earlier said, are carbohydrates, the fats, and protein. Within the body, these units are broken down, are oxidized in the cells. The process is one of the continuous utilization of energy and production of carbon dioxide, water, and heat. So, carbohydrate and fats undergoes oxidation to produce carbon dioxide, water, and heat, while protein undergoes oxidation to produce carbon dioxide, water, and urea instead of heat. And the primary source of a primary fuel in body is carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the body primary source of energy. However, when carbohydrate reserves are exhausted, fats and then protein are used for energy as well. So the primary source of energy to our body is carbohydrates. But when we run out of carbohydrate in our body, maybe through exogenous supply or the storage, the glycogen got exhausted in our body, then the body, to maintain continuous supplies of energy that will support metabolism, will now fall back on fats as the plan B. That is the second source. So from fats, then the body will also fall back into the protein to utilize them as a source of energy. However, carbohydrate is the primary source of the energy. So let's talk on calorific value of foods. Energy value of foodstuffs are usually expressed in terms of a term known as calorific value. The calorific value is defined as the quantity of heat liberated in calories by the complete combustion of a unit mass of foodstuff in excess air or oxygen under specified standard conditions. So when you talk about calorific value, it depends on the nature of the foods and the relative proportions of protein, fats, carbohydrate present in the food. So not all the foods gives you the same calorie. So when you talk about the calorie value of the food, so it depends on the nature of the foods. And also the amount of the protein, the fat, and carbohydrate present in the food will now give you the value, the calorific value of the food. And usually It is usually expressed in kilocalorie, and the standard mass taken is always 100 grams. So you see, per food, they can tell you that this food, a plate of food or a proportion of this food, maybe 100 grams of this food, gives you so kilocalorie of energy. So the energy value of food can be expressed in terms of kilocalories or the megajoule. The International Union of Nutritional Science has suggested the use of megajoule as the energy unit in place of kilocalorie. However, kilocalorie is commonly used worldwide as the unit to express the calorific value of a given food. So when you talk about kilocalorie, 1 kilocalorie is the quantity of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water through 1 degree Celsius. So it is 1000 times the small calorie used in physics measurements. So 1 kilocalorie is the amount or is the quantity of heat required to raise a temperature of 1 kilogram of water through 1 degree Celsius. Any heat that can raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius is equivalent to 1 kilocalorie. And when you said megajoule, 1 kilocalorie is equal to 4.186 kilojoules. Hence, 1000 kilocalorie equals to 4.186 raised to power of times 10 raised to power of 3 kilojoules, or 4.186 megajoules. On food labels, energy is shown as the nutritional calorie. Most of the food labels, if you take the food labels and check it very well, you will see they always write nutritional calorie or total calorie. So the calorific value of a food on a food label is commonly written as nutritional calorie or the total calorie. Writing with a capital C or kcal. In countries other than United States, for example, like Nigeria and other parts of the world, energy is shown in forms of what? Kilocalorie or kilojoules. So 1 calorie is equal to 4184 joules. As such, 1 kilocalorie or 1 calorie is equivalent to 4.184 kJ, which is approximately 4.2 kilojoules. So if you have your calorific value, the energy value of the food expressed as kilocalorie or as calorie, and you want to convert it to kilojoule, you just multiply it by the factor of 4.2 to arrive at your what? Kilojoule. Determination of energy value of food. So since we are talking about the energy value of food, how do you determine the energy value of food? The energy value of food is usually determined using the instrument called bomb calorimeter. This bomb calorimeter is an instrument that consists of a heavy steel bomb with a cover held tightly that is used to determine the energy value of any given food. So in bomb calorimeter, food are bombed in this instrument to determine their energy value in terms of either kilojoule per gram or kilocalorie per gram of the food. The process involves a weighted amount of food sample is placed inside the calorimeter in a crucible. This calorimeter is filled with oxygen under pressure The calorimeter is immersed in known quantity of water. The sample is ignited by means of electric fuse and heat liberated, which is measured by the rise in temperature as we earlier discussed. So for example, you put a gram of a sample of a food inside this instrument calorimeter, which is ignited, and there is a filled of a known quantity of water, for example 1 kg of water filled, and you put a sample. So a heat that is liberated by the ignition of the food sample will now raise the temperature surrounding the what? The food. So the amount of temperature rise will determine the amount of energy in that food. So this is the picture of calorimeter showing the parts or the components of the instrument. On the calorimeter, we have thermometer, which is used to measure the heat. We have the ignition wires that is used to ignite the sample. We have this stirrer. We have insulated container, contains the water. We have steel combustion chamber. We have food sample. Then there is also what? Water. So for example, consider the evaluation of calorific value of 2 grams of yam measured with a calorimeter containing 3 kilograms of water. This is just an example. For example, we say the weight of our sample, which is yam, is 2 grams. The weight of water in the outside versus is 300 grams. Water equivalent of calorimeter is 500 grams. Initial temperature of water is 24 degrees Celsius. Final temperature of water is 26 degrees Celsius. Rise in temperature is 1 because the initial temperature of water is 24 degrees Celsius. So after ignition, then the food have completely burned, and the amount of heat liberated raised the temperature of the water to 26 from 24. So when you say 24 degrees Celsius minus 26 degrees Celsius, you have 2 degrees Celsius. So the heat gain by water and calorimeter is now calculated as, remember, the amount of water outside versus is 3000. The water equivalent of calorimeter is 500 grams. So we have 3500 grams multiplied by the temperature rise, which is 2 degrees Celsius. You have 7,000 calories. So 2 grams of yam produces 7 kilocalories. 1 gram of yam will now produce what? 3.5 kcal. So calorific value of 100 grams of yam will be equivalent to what? To 350 kcal. So to convert this to kJ, as we discussed earlier, we said your kilocalorie, we said 1 kilocalorie multiplied by 4.2 will now give you the kilojoule. So 350 kcal multiplied by 4.2, you have what? 1470 kJ. So this is the what? The amount of energy content from this example, the amount of energy or the energy value of the 2 grams of yam from the example. And we said energy value for the 3 food types are in form of what? Kilojoule per gram or kilocalorie. So a carbohydrate, 1 gram of carbohydrates yield 4 kcal. 1 gram of fat yields 9 kilocalorie. 1 gram of protein will yield 4 kilocalories. So to convert them to kilojoule, you take the factor of 4.2, then 4 multiplied by 4.2, you have 17 approximately. 9 multiplied by 4.2, you have 38. 4 for protein multiplied by 4.2 kilojoule, you have 17 kilojoule. So in the food label, as an example, Give example of a food label here. On the label of the packaged food, the nutrition fact include the total calories and kilojoules and the gram of carbohydrates, fat and protein per serving. So from this, you can look from the label, you see calorific value per cup of this food of this food that is labeled here will give us 110 kilocalorie. That is per cup of 34 gram. And then the amount of fat content is there, the amount of carbohydrate is there, the amount of protein and other ingredient labeled on the food is there. So since we are focusing on the kilocalorie, so the amount of kilocalorie that if you consume this food you can be able to get, that is per serving, which is 1 cup, is 110 kcal. Now this is the guide to calculate energy from a food. There are 3 guides. There are 3 steps if you want to calculate energy from foods. 1. State the given and needed quantity of the food. So what is the quantity of the food you want to calculate? The energy. Step 2. Use the energy value for each food type and calculate the kilojoule or kilocalorie rounded off to the tens place. 3. That is step 3. Add the energy for each food type to give the total energy from the food. Okay, example 1. Let's take example moi moi or alele as we commonly call them, contains 37 grams of carbohydrates, 19 grams of fat and 23 grams of protein. Now, what is the total energy in kilocal from this food? Remember our step 1. The amount of the given components are what? 37 grams of carbohydrates, 19 grams of fat, 23 grams of what? Protein. If you state this, step 2, use the energy value for each food type and calculate the amount of energy. So 37 multiplied by amount of what? Amount of energy for carbohydrates. We say 37 grams of carbohydrates. So 37 multiplied by 4, you have 450. 19 grams of protein multiplied by 9, you have 470. 23 grams of protein multiplied by 4 kilocalorie, you have 90 kilocalorie. Then step 3, add the energy from each food type to get the total energy. So the total energy is 150 kcal plus 170 kcal plus 90 kcal. You now arrive at 410 kilocalorie. So to convert this kilocalorie to kilojoule, we say you multiply by the factor of 4.2, which 410 multiplied by 4.2, you have 1722 kilocalorie. So the example 2 is there. Now, before we round up the lectures, we have an assignment for week 1. The question is, write 10 commonly consumed foods in your community and calculate their energy content before the next lectures. Thank you for listening. Thank you, everyone.